do thy will, O my God. Yea, thy law is within my heart. But there are some who say the law has done away with. Has it really been done away with? And here's the verse on which they base it. Go to Romans chapter 10. Verse 4, sorry. Romans chapter 10, a powerful book. Verse 4. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes. People take that verse and say, the Bible says the law ended. But when you study the Bible, you must study here a little, there a little, come on, line upon line, what else? Precept upon precept. You cannot build a belief on a single text. Romans 10:4 says, for Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. Go to James chapter 5. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, keep reading, and have seen what? The end of the law, that the Lord is what? Yes, merciful and pitiful. The Lord is very merciful, pitiful, and very merciful. James tells us, look at the prophets in verse 10, look at Job, look at God, as we try to understand what the verse means by the end of the Lord. In verse 10, the writer says, by the way, who was the half-brother of Jesus, take, my brethren, the prophets who have spoken in the name of the Lord for an example of suffering what? Affliction and patience. Now, what is James saying? Look at the prophets, examine their lives, and what's your conclusion? They suffered affliction. And they were very long-suffering. They suffered. James is saying, look at the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and when you look at them and you examine them, what's the conclusion? What do you learn? They suffered affliction and patience. Next verse he says, he goes to Job. Behold them, blessed who endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job. When you study Job, what conclusion do you come to, says James? He is or was patient. Now, he applies the same thing to God. Ye have heard of the patience of Job and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very what? Merciful and pitiful. What James is saying, when you look at God, you look at the prophets, verse 10, you conclude them, they're patient and they suffer. Look at Job, you conclude he was patient. Look at God, the end of that examination is he's pitiful and very merciful. That's what end means. The outcome, the grand culmination. And so we read in 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 5, but the end of the law is charity out of a pure heart. In other words, what does the law point to? That's why God says the law is summarized in 2 words: love for God, love for your fellow man. Not that the law comes to an end. The word end, the Greek word telos, means the culmination, the purpose, the grand finale. What does the law point to? Love. When you look at the prophets, what do you arrive at? What conclusion? They were patient, they suffered. When you look at Job, what conclusion do you arrive at? He was patient. When you look at God, what conclusion do you arrive at? He's merciful and pitiful. That's all. Not that God ends. Because if you say in Romans 10:4, Christ is the end of the law, the Greek word there for end is the same Greek word in James. We've seen the end of the Lord. Are you telling me God ends? He doesn't end. It does not mean cessation. It means fullness of outcome. Go to Romans 7. Let's take another look at God's law, his wake-up call. Romans 7. Let's read from verse 7. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. If the law is not sin, what is it? What's the opposite of sin? Righteousness. Now, Paul said, what shall we say? Is the law sin? God forbid, which means the law is righteousness. He says, nay, I had not known sin, but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. Now, this is what Satan is trying to remove. The function of the law as an identifier of sin. And so he has moved upon Christian preachers to say the law has been done away with. If that's the case, there is no way to know what's right and wrong in the sight of God, because the Bible is clear. Paul said, I had not known lust. There was no way for me to know lust except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. What is he saying? It is only by the law that someone can know what is sin in the eyes of God. Remove the law and you remove sin. The devil wants that. And so Christians say there's no law. But here's what they're saying. You look at the law, thou shalt have no other gods before me. They have no problem with that. That's not what they mean has been done away with, because they go to church to worship this God, presumably. The second commandment, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. They have no problem with that. That's not what they mean when they say the law has been done away with, because they don't worship the idols, most of them. Commandment 3, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. You ask them, is this done away with? If they're honest, they have to say no. Commandment 5, honor thy father and thy mother. Has that been done away with? No. Thou shalt not kill. 6, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. None of those have been done away with. What they mean is the Sabbath has been done away with. That's the law they targeted. And in order to get rid of that, they say the law has been, I am under grace, not under law.